Hey guys, Bobby Hughes here with Hollow Point Firearms, and today I'm going to show you guys a kind of a cheater way of saving up some tallow. Now, we've discussed before in other videos in short little segments, we've talked about the difference between lard and tallow. Lard is fat from pig or pork fat, and tallow is beef fat. And I don't know if any of you guys are cooks or you cook in the kitchen or anything at all. You'll notice that the grease that you pour off of like pork chops or something like that remains pretty soft. If you're anything like me, I save all my grease usually to make gravy for biscuits and gravy or something like that. But if you know, if you've ever noticed, pork chop grease doesn't really harden up very well. It'll harden up somewhat, but just not to the fullest extent. And beef grease, if you leave it sitting in the skillet or in the bottom of your sink, because a lot of people dump it down your sink, it'll get real hard. That's why they tell you not to dump grease down your drain, because it hardens up, clogs your pipes up, makes a big ordeal. So anyway, I'm cooking dinner right now for the wife. I'm just browning up some hamburger meat, which is beef, and I'm gonna save the grease off of it to make tallow out of, and I'm going to show you guys how. So stay tuned and check it out. Alright, so I've got about 1.5 pounds, maybe 2 pounds of hamburger meat cooking down right now in the skillet, just browning it up. And one thing you guys got to remember is all the liquid that's in here that comes with this is not all grease. Alright, a lot of it is moisture from where it was frozen and then thawed out. There's also going to be, a combination in the liquid. There's going to be blood in there. So it's not all grease. I'm going to show you guys how to render that moisture out of the grease once it's finished browning up. Okay guys, so the hamburger meat is done cooking. My wife is home, and she thinks I'm crazy for making videos all the time. So anyway, she's like making fun of me and stuff. So if it's in the background, then it's in the background. But anyway, our hamburger meat is done cooking. And I'm going to show you guys, it's kind of a process because you want to get as much of the fat out of it as you can. So I may have actually let it cook a little bit too long. So what I've got here is I've got a strainer and then a bowl underneath it. You're going to pour your hamburger meat right out of the skillet into the strainer. Make sure that everything drips out of there. Let it drip for a little while so that all of that grease and goodness gets out of there.
Or you can take a paper towel and wipe it out.
No, because the paper towel soaks up the fat that we're trying to extract from the beef. So anyway, let all that drip out. And then what you're going to do to help push it out is I'm using this glass right here, and I'm just going to press down on the beef, and it's going to squeeze the grease out of the meat and fall through the colander into the bottom of the bowl. My wife should enjoy this method since she always gripes about not having lean beef.
That's 90%.
Oh, it's 90%, so we're probably not going to get much fat out of it anyway.
Just water from where you soaked it.
We may get a little bit of fat. We'll see. Alright, so then we remove the colander and there's what's left. We can put that back in the skillet because that's what we're using to make our hamburger helper. Yes, I said hamburger helper. People still use that. Even though it's bad for you and everything else, it's still yummy. So anyway, there's what we got. And we'll have a little bit of grease in there, but for the most part, that's probably water and blood. So now what we'll do is I'm using a cake pan, like a mold. And this rag will serve as a moisture collector, alright? And since we really don't have that much grease, what we want to do is, let me back out here a little bit so you can see, we're going to prop it up a little bit so that it's kind of setting at an angle so that all the grease will collect right down here. And then we'll just take our bowl and dump our grease right into the cloth, just like that. And now you'll see that the moisture is actually collecting in the rag. All right, and once this hardens up, the grease will actually harden right in this corner right here. So when the tallow sets up, the tallow will actually set up there. And it's going to soak a lot of water up in this rag. So like she said, it's 90% lean. So we're probably not going to get a lot of tallow. Okay, so we're going to let that harden up, and then I'll show you guys in a little while when it actually solidifies. Alright guys, so our grease has been setting for about an hour now. By the way, the hamburger helper was awesome. And so now what we're going to do, when you look at your rag, you'll see why we put the rag in here. This thing is soaked. This is all the water and moisture that was in the tallow or in the concoction when we dumped it into the mold. Alright, so we want to get all that out that we can. You'll still see there's a little bit of hamburger meat left in there or whatever. And what we'll want to do is we're actually going to save this, because this isn't really enough to do a whole lot with. So we're going to store this and save it. And then after the next 3 or 4 times of doing this, for cooking whatever you're cooking or using hamburger meat or whatever, then we should stockpile enough that we can use it to make something with. Alright, and at that point in time, we'll render all of it down and filter it. And I'll show you guys how to do that at a later time. But anyway, so what we're going to do now is just pull this right out of the mold here. And you'll see that it just breaks right off of your mold. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to store it in this jar here. And that'll probably actually harden up a little bit more as it sets. Anyway, like I said, not a whole lot in that batch. You're not going to get a lot out of it. I think like Stevie said earlier, this was 90% lean. So you're not going to get a lot of tallow out of it or a lot of grease out of it. But you will get a little bit. And you can see in there some of the liquid that was left. I'll go ahead and there's a pretty good sized chunk there. So go ahead and pull some of this out. But you can see the liquid in the bottom there. And then all of the liquid that got absorbed in this rag, that's all water. Alright, that's what we don't want in it. So anyway guys, that's pretty much how you render tallow out of basic hamburger meat. Got a little bit there. Like I said, not a whole lot. But, you know, we'll just stockpile it till we get a half a jar or so. And then we'll cook it down and make something out of it. Alright, so until next time, get out there, shoot some guns, be safe. Most importantly, have fun. See you guys.